Welcome back. It's a feel-good show this morning. Obviously, lots of inspiration here, a lot of information just to educate you so that we can make sure that you're actually living your best life. So let me take some more questions. I have questions here that I cannot leave hanging. I'm seeing there's a girl here saying, hey, you're Mercy watching from Embakasi. You're a virgin. And would you be pregnant if you break your virginity? Mercy, the answer to that is you're a young girl. Keep it. Save it. And this is the thing about sex. When you have sex, there is a very high likelihood that you will get pregnant. And I would highly encourage you, Mercy, because obviously you're writing to me here via SMS, but find someone that you trust, probably an auntie, an uncle, even, go to my social media, drop me an inbox. I can walk you through it. Another one here saying, hi, I need some advice. I'm pregnant and I feel embarrassed of myself. What should I do, please? Very good question here. Number one, you have to accept it. You have to let somebody in your family know that you are pregnant, because only from that point can you start now making the necessary preparations that you need to do for the baby and also for your life. So embarrassment, what you're feeling is very natural. You're not the first one to be there. There is hope after a pregnancy. So obviously this is a very big topic here, and we'll for sure be able to address it again on Full Circle. And that's why this next topic that we are talking about this morning is very important. Joining me in studio, I have Francis Washira, and we are going to be talking about men and co-parenting and why, unfortunately, today in this country, most men choose to abscond their parental responsibility. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
So, ya kwanza, and you've had all those young girls, and
Sure.
I'm sure these are girls who are not even over the age of 20, and now we are talking about men and responsibility. So why do you feel that it's very natural and it's almost, I don't want to say accepted, but it's expected that most men in Kenya will abscond their responsibility when it comes to children?
Well, thank you so much for having me on the show. It breaks my heart really, because I'm telling myself that would be my sister, that would be my daughter, so it really breaks my heart. But I'm going just to pick some thoughts that come across my mind, especially having been a young boy getting into a man who is now in a marriage and a father. I think the first question is a question of socialization, how we have been socialized. So we have been in a space where we tend to learn from sources that do not give a proper example of what it means then to be a man. So the question is, what is it to be a real man? Is it to have muscles? Is it to to have a great job? Is it to drive? Or what is it really to be a man? That question of proper learning from the right sources, and I agree with my previous speaker, that proper learning so that the men have not been properly socialized. So we learn from movies, we on Netflix the whole day. So we will not know, and this is a question of media literacy, we will not know that that's a script that has been set and may not necessarily depict real life. But number two, I think being in a space where there are mentors, people we are able to look up to. And as we talk about the information age, I feel I don't need the advice of my father or an elder person, because I can Google it. If I need to know what it means to be a man, I can Google it. So we have not had a chance of being exposed to people who have actually lived real lives. One of the things that I did, sorry, just a quick one. One of the things that I did when I was getting into marriage is to visit married couples and to learn from that context. And see how they are taking care of their children, see how they are conversing with their children and such like things. And I felt that was a good preparation. So the question of mentorship.
So obviously having positive role models.
Yes, sure.
People who are doing it and doing it in a very healthy way. So I want us to focus on co-parenting.
Yes.
And really from the point whereby either the mother and the father are no longer together. Mm-hmm. They're not in a romantic relationship. However, they're still in relationship because they do share a child.
Yes.
And I find that most people will say it's already difficult to parent with these men in marriage most of the time. Not all the time, but unfortunately in most cases. So what happens now when you're no longer together and you still want to co-parent? And that's where now we see, if you thought before it was bad, now it becomes 10 times worse. So why is that usually the case, that at that juncture now men feel because they've broken up with the mother of the child, they've also broken up with the child?
Wow. First, let me look at it from the disease as opposed from the symptom. Then I'm going to come to the symptom. I think it's the way people view marriages. So what is my motivation of, let's not even talk about marriage, of this relationship? So am I here, let's enjoy, if a child comes, then we will know what happens. And cultures are different. Maybe in our culture, the lady is left with the child. In the other culture, whoever is left with the child. So I think marriage is so solemn. It's an institution that, as we say in church, it should not be gotten into unadvisedly. Because I went through the church process, and I can tell you sometimes it gets so hard. Even having gone through the church process and made the vows, I'm just wondering how harder it would be for someone who has not gone through the process, because there will be all these classes, one being prepared for marriage. So I think it first is the view. What is my motivation for having this relationship, and where are we going? And it's important to have this conversation even with the person that one is dating, because someone's future may be destroyed for good. That's one element.
And obviously some words of wisdom there. And I want to encourage our viewers, if you have an experience with this, please get on the SMS line 111 Let me know, what is your experience with co-parenting? Have you been able to do it successfully? Are you struggling? What is it that you would want to tell Kenyan men in particular? And you've advised that the best way to avoid this, to start with, do it right.
Sure.
But I want to sit here humbly and tell you, sometimes people do it right, but they still end up there.
True.
Whereby they are no longer together and they have to co-parent.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give any couple that perhaps find themselves in that situation where now you're in your house, I'm in my house, but we share a child or we share children? So how do we do it in a way that is very conducive for the children? And specifically talking to why men feel that when they break up with their, with the wives or with the mother of their children, they've also broken up with their children.
And again, as I mentioned, the first step, please think about the children in future before you get into that place. But then we have instances, and I've said, even as someone who's gone through the process and I have done it right, there are difficulties. I mean, and these are things that we must continue having discussions on. Now, when it comes to the actual co-parenting in that context, one, we have to admit that it's a bit difficult. So there might be instances where the man stays aloof and they completely do not want to take responsibility. There are also instances where the lady would feel, you broke my heart, please keep off. The other men, having been providers, they think, go wherever you're going, because you don't have an income. And as recently, a friend of mine went through that situation, and it's a bit difficult. They had to drop out of school. Now they have a number of children. They can't just easily go look for employment because they have kids to take care of.
But so, that is wrong, because that is a man using his financial advantage to actually punish a woman and her children, or his children.
And it breaks my heart, because as I am saying, it could be my sister, it could be my daughter. So in this context, I wouldn't, the reason why I'm advocating for people doing it right and finding mentors is that this conversation can go on, because we are learning virtually from people who have not necessarily gone through the experiences, that there is need to for men to continually have people they are looking up to, so that we avoid this, because it's quite difficult for a man to continue co-parenting. And I've watched some of the, a lot online on marriages that broke up and men are trying to reach out, or sometimes even the mothers are trying. It has happened in my family where one of my siblings is trying, forever looking for the man to really take responsibility for this child they have. She can't look for employment. She can't do nothing. So she remains lost. For me, I'll just give one, at a macro level, I think it's to appreciate the seriousness of marriage and work towards, because there are responsibilities you can't delegate. If you get into a point and you get a child and you had not planned for it, and I don't think about unplanned pregnancies, I mean, really it's a step that people take towards getting there. I think it's planning to take responsibility. What we are having now is irresponsible men who are not taking care of. their children.
Okay, I have a question here. Someone saying, "Hi Tamima, I decided to opt out of my relationship, but now I find it hard to co-parent because he uses our daughter as a way to get back at me, and even at times he takes the kid." So this we see very often, and in the spirit of being fair,
Yeah.
women do it, men do it, whereby
Sure.
the child is now used as a weapon. Yeah.
Sometimes that can be called cowardice if we are to be so real, because then men should appreciate knowing what's did I talk to, whom did I get into a relationship with, and who am I trying to reach out to. If it's the mother of the child, I should just face them. If I can't face them, then let me look for a contemporary at their age or someone that they respect, so that we are able to, because again, what picture are we painting to the children? And there's something called father wounds, and this can really haunt someone even into their old age. So the question here is responsibility. If the man wants to talk to the woman, then let them go direct. If they can't do that, then let them use a contemporary or someone that the lady looks up to for them to have a conversation. Ultimately, I think it's even God's desire that marriages remain, because in that context, then it will be easier to avoid all these problems.
So there's someone here asking, why is it that most men give up on their children after they break up or divorce with their wives? And then also, let me take this one as well. Someone who's saying that still studying after school, the man moves on, knows love, and perhaps gets married to the love of his life, but there was a child left behind. What should he do? So again, similar thing whereby most women feel that, we might have been in relationship. Once we are no longer together, I'm left with the responsibility of the child. And smart women will tell you that I'll accept it, I'll do what's best for my child, but it still doesn't make it right.
And I know, and again, from very real experience, I would want to pose this question to the lady: what does this man take you for? Because I know someone ever confessed to me that I have this girlfriend and I'm planning to marry them, but I have these others, I am just passing time with them. And I normally say, especially for ladies, if a man proposes to take you to bed first before taking you to church, then that therein lies a challenge, because the fact that they will be comfortable doing it with you, it should also ring a bell that they would be comfortable doing it with someone else. So I think that's a very good point to depart and to know that then your future is at stake.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then so someone here again asking, "Hey Tamima, I'm Lois from Taveta. What if a teenage boy impregnates a fellow student? The girl may drop, but the boy, who is the main case, still stays in school." So this touches a bit more on the teenage pregnancy. But I think all in all, when it comes to co-parenting, if you had to speak to the boys and perhaps just give them a solid advice around how they can still remain active parents in their children's life, what would it be?
One, having a child is an act of stewardship. From a Christian perspective, the child is given by God. And so the child is not supposed to be a source of sorrow. Again, we say the blessings of God brings joy. They don't come with sorrow. So that a child is given as a gift. So if you're given a gift, even for people who have been properly married, sometimes when children come and they're wondering, this child comes with its own expenses. So we tend to look at it from the negative perspective. I have to buy diapers, I have to go for clinics, maternal health has gone high nowadays in terms of the cost. So I'm wondering, where will I get all this money and all these things? So let us look at the child as a gift from God, number one. Number two is that it's a gift that needs to be stewarded. That means God would have as well given the responsibility of taking care of the child to someone else. And number two, I am going to be judged, or I'm going to be fully accountable for the life of this child and how I bring them up, so that they need to be stewarded, and that responsibility can as well be taken to someone else. And also to note, there are people crying every day, I need a baby, I need a baby. Then why would you want to abscond that responsibility if then God has so graciously given you that child? I think it's a hard conversation to have. There are people who are really praying that God gives them children and that they cannot. So I think it's a point of calling upon the man before the action. Think about your sense of responsibility at the end of the day.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Francis. So obviously still to come, we're going to be teaching you how you can spice up your breakfast. Who says breakfast has to be boring? Just China bread. So if you're one of those people like me who loves having beef liver for breakfast, stick around. We're going to be showing you a wonderful recipe that you can try out. But right now, it's time for a very quick break. We'll be right back.